President Cyril Ramaphosa has reached his destination. The President took the train in Cape Town this morning. He's now on the platform. Speaking of platforms, he's also hoping to showcase government's work once again by taking the train. eNCA's Annika Larsen is there. She joins us now live. Annika, shall we be our cynical selves and question the timing of the unveiling of these two brand spanking new trains in a province where the ANC itself has been trying for 10 years to claw back some ground from the DA?
That's right. I mean, trains really have become an election issue, despite a denial from the president, as you may have seen earlier when I interviewed him during our train ride to Mowbray Station, which is not far from Cape Town Central. And we were just saying how the DA and the ANC are targeting train commuters. I'm sorry about all this noise, but there's always so much excitement when the president's around. But they're really targeting train commuters because they are the majority of working class people who suffer on a daily basis, trying to get to work late and becoming the victims of crime. Now, this is one of the new locally made trains. There are going to be 7,000 new trains rolling out, about 30 a month over the next 20 years. I'll take you through one of them. Sorry, are you a driver? You're a train driver? Oh, we're just going to go in. I'll just show you what it's like. I mean, it's spanking new. It's really nice. You can't complain. This is really what a train should look like. The president obviously offering lots of solutions to unemployment, saying that a lot of women are involved in the making of these trains. And we had a few jolts and bumps, but otherwise you can see it's a first class train. The question that I have is what happened to all those billions that were chewed by former Prasa executives? What happened to the recommendations that were made by Thuli Madonsela in her derailed report? And why were none of those recommendations taken up? And why was there no parliamentary inquiry into malfeasance at Prasa in the last few years? So all those questions still need to be asked after election.
Annika, I mean, those were the same questions we put to the president when he was on a train in Gauteng. And that was the pledge that he made to commuters now a couple of weeks ago, if memory serves, that he would be getting all of those answers and that he would be reporting back to the country.
Look, I mean, it's quite interesting that the soon-to-be no longer Premier of the Western Cape, Helen Zille, this was her last official engagement with President Cyril Ramaphosa, and the DA very much wants to take the trains and Prasa away from being a national infrastructure development program to a provincial one, and it's very unlikely to happen because they'll need a majority vote in Parliament for that to happen. But it's very much a fight between the parties as to who can do better for train commuters, and I think that's why it's become an issue in Tshwane and the Western Cape, because they're both hotly contested areas. And I think so this has not been only a PR exercise to show that the embarrassment of what happened in Tshwane on the 18th of March was not going to be repeated, and that the trains do in fact work. Remember, there was a 3-hour delay for the president, which should have been a 45-minute ride. He must have been very embarrassed. But it's also electioneering and getting commuters here to have a look at the new trains and what promises the ANC can make for them ahead of the 8th of May.
Well, let's talk election in just a moment, but just staying on the issue of this newly locally built train. That's a big one for the president, given that it's something that he'd like to expand not only around the country, but across the continent as well.
Absolutely, and I mean, we had trains being ordered from all over the world. Remember the China deal? So this really is a first, and it is good news. It's a good story to tell. What really, I think, happens after the rollout of the first two is something that needs to be watched. They're hoping 65% of South Africa's rolling stock will now be made locally, and I 15,000 new trains, 30 per month, and that's 170 billion rand being pumped into train infrastructure. So it's a good story, but will the vandals be stopped from ripping the seats apart? Will there be proper policing on the stations to make sure people aren't mugged on the trains? And will people be able to get to work on time?
Yeah, that's what the President said, didn't he? That people also needed to have a certain level of comfort in travelling and doing their daily commute. So I can't imagine that President Cyril Ramaphosa thought you were just there to see him cut the ribbon on this brand spanking new train. You had to put the question to him on the ANC's list and all of the controversy around that, and he did seem in some way to be caught unawares by you. What did he have to say?
Yeah, he does see eNCA reporters and know that something's afoot, and he will be asked some kind of controversial question. So I think that he was fairly prepared for something, just not what. Yes, I did ask him about the final list process, and I couldn't really make out whether he was saying that the list was going to change after it had been before the Integrity Commission. It's unlikely to be changed by the IEC. You have to be declared insolvent or have a criminal conviction against you in order to be removed from that list. But what I wanted to know was how much input he had into that list, because the top 10 of that list are very much largely made up of people who are seen as anti-Ramaphosa and pro former President Jacob Zuma. And Parliament is a very uneasy and dangerous place for an unpopular president, because it's a place where you can be voted out by no confidence, which is effectively what was about to happen to former President Jacob Zuma before he resigned, or he could be impeached. So a president wants to make sure that those MPs and those top MPs in the front benches are very much on his side. And if you cast a glance at it, there are people there who have got some sort of lingering smell of malfeasance that hasn't been taken to court. Of course, the ANC always saying, you know, innocent until proven guilty. I don't know if you heard that interview, Michelle, but I'd be interested to see, when you have a look at that clip, how you think he dealt with it and what he was kind of saying. I thought he was almost skipping towards the side of saying the list could possibly change.
No,
but that could just have been my interpretation. I was being moved around a lot and jolted up and down.
Well, that's why I put the question to you. We actually had that live on eNCA, and I also got the sense that what he was saying was, watch this space, and yeah, there may be certain changes afoot.
Yeah, I mean, he also knows that there's been an outcry about certain people at the top of the list who have been mentioned in the Zondo Commission, who've been mentioned as having taken money allegedly from Prasa, the Guptas, etc. And why are those people so high on the list? So it's controversial, and he knows that, and he's playing the election game. So he's trying to please everybody by hinting, perhaps, that there could be a change afoot if the Integrity Commission does its job, or that people stay on the list. He's playing a very delicate dance, I think, in the next few days or so as we run up to the 8th of May.
Indeed he is. Thanks very much for that update. Our senior reporter Annika Larsen live to us there, in fact, from inside one of those brand spanking new trains.